Today, I'm going to give you what I think are the pros of Foundry VTT and the pros of Roll20. I'll go through what each VTT does well and where it outperforms the other. The goal of this video is to give you some guidance if you're deciding which VTT to pick up or if you're considering switching from one to the other. For context, I have over 400 hours of experience using Foundry VTT, which I've used to run several active campaigns and one-shots, and I also have some experience using Roll20 as a player and a GM. I've also tried over 20 different VTTs, so I have a fairly good understanding of the VTT landscape in general. By the way, hi, my name is Fondu. I run this channel called Dice and Easy, where I give you tips and tutorials on running your TTRPG games digitally. If that's something you're into, hit that subscribe button down there. Now a short disclaimer. This video is just my analysis of these two virtual tabletops and should not be taken as an objective truth. Your mileage may vary and we might disagree on some points, which is totally fine. This is just my opinion and I just want this video to help you make a decision. With that out of the way, let's get started. The advantages of Foundry VTT. Number 1. Foundry VTT is more versatile and customizable. Foundry offers a fantastic amount of versatility and customization right out of the box. If you need custom spells, skills, items, classes, races, etc. for your D&D games, you can easily create them in their respective sections and set them up to do what you want. Once you've done that, you can just drag and drop the custom thingy in question on your character sheet to have it added to your character. Simple and clean. This customization is of course not just limited to the D&D 5e game system, but can be used with any of the game systems on Foundry. By the way, all the game systems for Foundry are community made and operated, so any system can be added to Foundry. You could even add a system yourself, though I admit that this requires a more technical mind to achieve. On Roll20, you can customize things in the character sheets, but it requires understanding HTML and CSS, which makes it less approachable for less technically minded people. On top of that, the customization Roll20 has isn't as flexible as Foundry. Adding a new game system, for example, is a lot more complex from my understanding. And another point of Foundry's extraordinary versatility is... Number 2. Modding is more powerful and easier. If there's anything you want to add to or modify in Foundry, there's a mod for it. Anything! Well, not absolutely anything, like Foundry doesn't have a module that gives me a kiss and a pat on the head when I roll an at 20. But anyway, the point is that the modding community behind Foundry is incredibly strong and new mods are constantly getting added to the fold. Want customizable 3D dice for all your rolls? Get Dice So Nice. Want to automate D&D combat so the damage is applied automatically to targets with all resistances and vulnerabilities taken into account? MIDI QOL is what you want. How about adding some beautiful weather effects for maps to increase player immersion? FX Masters got you covered. And you know, one thing I miss about using VTTs is having a proper GM screen. Luckily, GM Screen adds this to Foundry. These are just a few of the plethora of fantastic modules available for Foundry, and a vast majority of mods are completely free. Some, like ready-made adventures, map packs, token packs, etc. cost extra, but that's understandable. If you need recommendations on Foundry modules, my channel is a real treasure trove of info on that topic, by the way. Wait a minute, Fondu, I hear you say. Roll20 also has mods, you protest. Yes, while it's true that Roll20 does offer mods, the system is nowhere near as great as Foundry's. Firstly, Roll20 mods are locked behind the highest tier subscription, meaning you'll be paying $100 per year for this feature. Secondly, mods are harder to use and implement, requiring you to input scripts directly into your campaign and to run chat commands. Lastly, given the previous 2 points, there are notably less mods available for Roll20. Next, let's talk about a key part of the VTT experience. Number 3, maps on Foundry are more immersive. Foundry offers dynamic lighting out of the box, allowing you to set several light sources within a map, deciding their color and even how they animate. If you're clever, you can even use dynamic lights to simulate other effects like the sun hitting water, making it look like the water is moving. In addition to that, you can also, with the click of a button, change the time of day from day to night, or vice versa, which will plunge the map into darkness, and it will only be lit by light sources. Again, yes, Roll20 does offer dynamic lighting, but it does not offer the same level of customization, and it's once again locked behind a paywall, so you'll end up paying at least $50 per year for this feature. Other map features like walls, doors, and token vision are also hidden behind the same paywall, but Foundry has them out of the box, and they work smoother than in Roll20. Lastly, I have to mention FX Master again, because it allows you to create some truly stunning and immersive maps for your Foundry games, and there really isn't any way that you can replicate this in Roll20 as far as I know. I mean, just look at these weather effects! This is just one Foundry module. Now let's talk about a consistent thing about Foundry which I really appreciate. Number 4, a consistent update cadence. Every year for the past 4 years, the Foundry team has released at least one major new generation of Foundry VTT, which include major improvements and new features. This year we got version 11, which added things like an updated UI for the setup and world pages, and support for the window type walls in your maps. In between these major releases, smaller updates are released fixing bugs and making small changes. What I'm trying to say here is that Foundry is consistently getting better and better. Roll20, in contrast, is infamous for having been around for over 10 years and barely adding any features to the VTT. Hey, Edit Fondue here. I realized I was being too harsh on Roll20 here. While it is true that there has been a slow release of new features, it was unfair of me to say that they have no new feature releases on Roll20. So what I wanted to say is that the releases on Roll20 have been very slow, and there hasn't been a lot of them over the years. And sorry for being unfair there. Anyway, back to the video. However, to their credit, since spring of 2023, there's been a notable shift in Roll20's development, and they have been adding sorely needed features like measuring tools to the VTT. How did we only get measuring tools in 2023? But credit where credit is due. Let's hope the Roll20 team keeps this up. Speaking of teams performing, let's talk about the performance of Foundry VTT. Number 5. Foundry's performance is better. Unless you're using an old or underpowered PC, Foundry runs smoothly with minimal issues. This is especially true if you're self-hosting Foundry, because you are never fighting high-traffic servers since it's just you and your group playing. And if you're having performance issues, there are several settings that can be adjusted to remedy this. Roll20, on the other hand, is notorious for having performance issues. You might sometimes have a very simple map with just a few tokens on it, and you still get performance issues. What is up with that? These issues get worse during high traffic times on the server, and there's nothing you can really do to fix that. Now then, let's talk about Foundry's price point. Number 6. Foundry is cheaper in the long run. Foundry VTT is available for a one-time purchase of $50, which only the GM needs to pay. That's it. This one-time purchase gives you access to all the features and modules with nothing paywalled. If you're going to be using Foundry for a long time, which I assume you are, then this one-time price is very fair. I personally have gotten so much out of this VTT that it is definitely worth the $50. Roll20 is free, yes, but a lot of people will end up needing to get one of the subscription tiers. This will run for either $50 or $100 per year, which will get very expensive in the long run. Why would you need to subscribe? If you're running more than a few campaigns, you will probably run out of the 100 megabyte storage space, and you need to subscribe to get some more. Oh, and if you want access to dynamic lighting, walls, doors, and mods, you'll need to subscribe as mentioned before. Speaking of subscribing, if you're enjoying this video, consider subscribing and hitting the like button down there. Okay, that's all the Foundry VTT pros. Let's talk about the Roll20 pros. The advantages of Roll20. Number 1, Roll20 is easier to pick up. Roll20 offers an easier time for newbies with its easier and more streamlined UI with less distractions. The UI overall isn't as overwhelming and intimidating as Foundry, which will have new users more comfortable. On top of that, Roll20 offers a Charactermancer for D&D, which gives you a step-by-step process for making your D&D characters. This process is also integrated with the character sheet, so you better understand where all your character features are. Foundry, on the other hand, does not offer such a character builder out of the box. While Foundry is very versatile, it comes at a cost, and that cost is a steeper learning curve, which will intimidate newbies. The UI gives many options, but that can be confusing. Also, making D&D characters in Foundry without some modules is a bit tedious and clunky. With that said, for newcomers, Roll20 will definitely be easier to pick up and learn than Foundry VTT. Now, let's talk about hosting games. Number 2. Hosting games on Roll20 is easy. Since Roll20 is fully browser-based, hosting is as simple as creating a campaign and then sending an invite link to your players. That's all there is to it. Then you're ready to play. Compare this to Foundry, where you need to host, which requires you to be quite tech savvy and understand things like port forwarding and other network settings on your PC. And you might even need the help of your ISP to get this fully working. Alternatively, you can use a hosting service like The Forge, which I personally use and it's great, but then that is a surprise extra cost that you have to now take into account. The hosting situation on Foundry is an annoying surprise since you have no idea it's that complicated just jumping into the VTT. Like when I started using Foundry in the spring of 2021, the first few sessions went fine, but then self-hosting just stopped working and my players couldn't connect, and I had to switch to The Forge. This added an extra cost for me to run my games, which was fine, but it was an annoying surprise. Foundry, can we please have this process be easier? Next, we need to address the Roll20 marketplace. Number 3, Roll20 has better third-party support. What I mean by this is that the Roll20 marketplace is a great place for ready-made adventures, maps, tokens, and supplemental material. If you need an adventure with all maps, tokens, journals, etc. ready to go, you can just buy one from the marketplace. While Foundry does also have these, they are sorely missing one big area: official D&D 5e books. The Roll20 marketplace has all the official D&D 5e adventures and supplemental material books, which means that you could today start running Curse of Strahd or Storm King's Thunder with everything ready for Roll20. All your tokens, maps, lighting, etc. everything is set up. You don't need to set any of that up. Foundry does not have these, although there is a way to import Roll20 adventures to Foundry, but it requires some extra work and money. If you want to know how that works, I made a tutorial for that import process, which you can find a link for in the description and the top right-hand corner on the screen. The Roll20 marketplace is also a great centralized place to buy all your Roll20 content, and Foundry doesn't really have a place like this. Sure, you can browse all the paid content on Foundry's site, but it's not a great experience, with the search only useful if you know exactly what you're looking for. For example, if you would want to just browse all the adventures that are available for Foundry, you can't do that. This makes actually buying Foundry premium content a bit of a pain. So while Foundry does have third-party support, it's not as vast as Roll20's, and although it has been growing on Foundry, it's still missing the D&D official content. On top of that, Foundry could really benefit from a proper centralized marketplace website. And now we have to once again talk about price. Roll20 is cheaper to start with. Roll20 is completely free to start with. You could set up a campaign, invite your friends, and start playing for no other cost except creating Roll20 accounts. Many users, especially players, will never have a need to upgrade from a free account, and that will be great in the long run. Foundry has an upfront price of $50, which might be a barrier for some to start playing online, so free is a great starting choice. Though as I mentioned earlier, for many GMs, Roll20 can become more expensive in the long run with subscriptions. That's it, but these are just my thoughts and opinions. Which one do you think is better and why? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. And if you found this video useful, send it to your friend who you think would benefit from seeing it. Mayhaps your GM? If you want an even further deep dive into different VTTs, I made a video where I tried over 20 different VTTs and gave you my recommendations for different scenarios. If you want to cover all your VTT bases, check this video out. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.